and brighter. Go up the ladder to the roof, where we can see heaven much better. Go up the ladder to the roof,
where we can
be closer to heaven. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, and we shall let expression ring. In freedom in our singing, oh, memories of broken dreams. Don't you know, they'll fade away if you go up the ladder to the roof, where we can see heaven much better. Go up the ladder to the roof,
where we can be
closer to heaven. Relax, I'll tell you a story of love and this and the happiness in it, baby. We'll combine our hearts and together we'll travel to the fountain of loveliness. I will never, ever, ever leave you alone to wander, darling. If we go alone, our love is gonna be much stronger, so much stronger. Don't you wanna go? Don't you wanna go? Don't you wanna go? Don't you want to go up the ladder to the roof, where we can see heaven much better? Go up the ladder to the roof,
where we can be
closer to heaven. Up the ladder to heaven. Come on and go. Up the ladder to heaven. Come on and go. Up the ladder to heaven.
Please stand for the next song.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, and the home of the brave, home of the brave.
Thank you, Mountain View High School Madrigal.
Testing, testing, testing. Can you hear me? All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. We have come a long way since September, haven't we? So I'd like to just welcome everybody from the class and family members. I know it is hard sometimes to lose somebody for an entire day once a month. So I appreciate the patience and kindness to let everybody participate fully in the Leadership Mountain View program. Just wanted to give you a little background about how I came across this program. I lived and worked in Mountain View for 28 years, and when I retired from Space Systems Loral, I decided I wanted to do some volunteer work. And I had given money in the past, but I never had the time, or probably better said, never made the time to do volunteer work. So I did truly want to give of my time. And when I thought about it, I realized that I didn't know what nonprofits were in the area that needed my help. And after I scratched my head a little bit, I decided I didn't know the mayor's name. There wasn't much that I knew about my community except for work and raising my family and visiting the library. That's one place that we did frequent a lot. And luckily I ran across a friend named Kim Kofer. And she was at the time not only a realtor, but she was also the director of LMV. And she's the one that told me about the program. And I really didn't know what I was getting into, but she convinced me that it would be a way to learn about my community. And that's pretty much what I knew going in. And I think you'll hear over and over today, it is much more than just learning about your community. I see Melissa smiling at me. She's going to hopefully drive that home at the end. So I just felt really thankful that Kim mentioned it to me. And actually, as I started learning more, it turned out that I realized there was a leadership Sunnyvale, and there was a leadership Palo Alto, and there's a leadership Gilroy. So you'll see later in the program that each person has to do a community project to graduate. And I've always been kind of a process improvement person whenever I took on any job that I had in my career. So I decided to do a survey of the leadership programs in the area to find out what their curriculums were, what their best practices were, what they struggled with. And that led me to, I think, be recommended by Kim when she moved out of state to apply for the program. And I just feel blessed for that whole process and to be chosen to run Leadership Mountain View. So this is actually my third class. I feel blessed to run the program, but what is truly meaningful is meeting and getting to know each and one of the participants. And I can honestly say, of the 3 classes that I taught, this one was far and away the best class ever. And those of you that don't know that slogan, you'll probably hear it about 50 times tonight, and it gets a little bit old, but there was truly something special about this class. The way you participated, the way you bonded, the way you did things outside of the community, or outside of the classroom, et cetera, was really special, and I'm grateful for that. We have done a lot in the 9 months we're together. So have you seen the slides enough at this point? Hopefully you saw yourself. And I'm gonna switch over to these slides for the rest of the program. Bear with me for just a minute. So I'd like to start by, the program couldn't run unless we had partners and corporate donors and people that support the program. Many of you here were partially sponsored by others, so I really do want to thank LinkedIn, who's our program year sponsor, and for Google, who is our title sponsor, that really allowed this program to be as good as it can be. And today, we have Star One, who sponsored this graduation program. So thank you to Star One as well. So in the 9 months, as I was saying, we covered a lot. For those of you who didn't go through the class, I'll just cut a little bit of highlights. So each day that we meet has a theme. So you can see day 1 is leadership development. Really, it's about bonding, right? We do a lot of interactive exercises that have some leadership qualities, but how can you get 32 people to bond as quickly as possible in an 8-hour day? And then each one has a specific theme: city government, sustainability, health and human services, etc. I want to point out one program here, one program day that is kind of extra. So you can see in February we had 2. So we did a poverty simulation. So if you remember when I did a survey to see what the other programs did, I found that Leadership Sunnyvale had a really robust program. And one of the things that they did was they have 2 days where they have simulations with role playing. And I don't know about you, but I've never really liked the role playing things myself. But one thing I know is that it really does ground the information to you. So I decided to add a role play simulation to the program. We did it jointly with Leadership Sunnyvale. So not only do we get the role play and the extra learning, but we get some cross connections with our partners across the border. Do you think all things are just Mountain View focused, or is traffic problems and environmental problems kind of go across the border? So it's nice that we meet them. I was invited to go to their program and went through it before I decided to bring it to LMV. And I don't know, it was just a really impactful thing. So in the 28 years that I was in Mountain View, I kind of lived at a fairly prosperous level, and I had no idea of the underrunning issues and problems and how many people are in need in the city of Mountain View. 7 of the 10 programs, but you also have to participate and conduct a community service project. And this year, we decided to showcase some of those. So the class voted, there were 10 projects this year, and 4 of them rose to the top to be selected by their counterparts to present. So the first one is compostable alternatives. And Hala, if you would like to come up, I'll see if this magic behind the scenes works. I have my fingers and toes crossed, and hopefully a show present will come up. And all right, and I will get out of your way.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hannah, and I am here with my awesome team that did the compostable alternatives, Molara and Nate. Unfortunately, Rashmi, our 4th member, is not here. She's not feeling very well. Oh, she is here. Yay, she just got here. Hi, Rashmi. Good timing. And this is Leslie. No problem. Yeah. All right, next.
I'm just going to use the computer.
All right, here we go. So why this project? Many years ago, I went to the Smart Station, and I found out that the compostable plastic-like items actually ended up in landfill. Unlike what most people think, you buy it says compostable on it, and think you're doing the environment a favor. It turns out that these plastic-like compostables actually do not compost in Mountain View and in many other cities as well. We also found out that enforcing foodware and food waste composting legislation and codes are very difficult to enforce. And the third thing we found is that there's a great lack of awareness about alternatives to plastic. So that's why we decided to do this project. Mountain View actually has an excellent foodware code. They actually don't allow any single item use that is like cups or straws or clamshells, whether they're plastic or compostable like plastics. Next is, so we decided to, can we go back? I have one more thing to say. The city of Mountain View also works with a nonprofit called Rethink Disposables, and they hire them to go out and do outreach in the community. So they go out to restaurants, businesses, and cafes to convince them to go to truly compostable items made of bamboo or paper or wood, or go to reusables. Next. When we started this project, we went to 3 different entities. We went to Recology, that company that does the trash sorting and garbage collection in Mountain View. Unfortunately, they told me that composting process is not available in our city. Then I reached out to the city of Mountain View. I talked to the food waste manager. I said, can we have that process put in our city so all that stuff doesn't go to landfill? But unfortunately, that process turns out to be non-sustainable. So even when they have these processes established, the byproduct is not 100% compostable. A lot of it still ends in landfill because it doesn't go down to the fine organic material that we can put in the dirt in the farms and the gardens. Lastly, I went to Rethink Disposable, and they said, well, we are a hired nonprofit, so it's hard to mix volunteer. You wanted to volunteer with them. They said, we're not volunteers, so it's going to be very difficult because we have protocol and a process to go through. So that did not work out. So then we went to we divided different areas and did different things. I actually surveyed downtown Mountain View, boba, places, restaurants, cafes, and I found that some of them complied and did great, and some of them did not, and I reported the code violations to the city, and the city actually sent people from Rethink Disposable to teach them. And then Nate, since he works in El Camino Hospital, he had great effort going on with the food management there. So they're going to establish food compost, which they don't have in El Camino Hospital, believe it or not, which is wonderful. And they also just switched all their plastic water bottles from plastic to cardboard. And then Rashmi, who works at Google, collaborated with the Google sustainability team. Turns out one of the people on that team was also on the Rethink Disposable team 10 years ago. So they knew all about conversion and how to do that. They pledged that by 2030, they will have absolutely no single-use items in any of their cafeterias worldwide. Molara planted the seed at Foothill College Cafeteria Administration and Management to also convert from all these wasteful plastic and plastic-like compostable items to truly compostable or reusable. And she's going to UC Berkeley soon, so hopefully they'll, continue that effort. Our goals moving forward is to meet with the Chamber of Commerce in our city to recognize, see if we can do something to recognize compliant businesses. We also would like to go to tables, have tables at major events like the Farmers Market and El Camino Hospital. And we would like to do outreach to incentivize businesses and have positive reinforcements if they follow the code. We also have great state laws. The first one, Senate Bill 1383 by 2024, this year. All of the jurisdictions must provide organic waste collection. So El Camino Hospital is on their way to be compliant with that. And there's also Senate Bill 54, which tries to shift the responsibility from consumers to manufacturers. California must cut single-use plastic by 25%. They also have to recycle 65% of single-use plastic, and the stuff that gets recycled has to be 100% recycled, not just number 1 or number 5 or whatever. All of it has to be recycled by 2032. This is a flyer that the team thought it would be great to say thank you for businesses that are compliant with the foodware and for those that are wasting less. We would love to work with the Chamber of Commerce on that. Maybe we can put those flyers on restaurants and cafes. They're trying to do the right thing. So positive reinforcement was definitely something we focused on. And that's it.
All right. Thank you all. Close that. And go back to slides. Yeah. Back to slideshow. Okay. Get away, Josh. And the clicker works now that I've turned it on.
That always helps. So if you want to learn more about Paula's project, you can actually go online to YouTube, look up Exergy TV, and you'll see an episode of Exergy TV specifically on Hala's presentation. What is Exergy TV? So everybody here knows that I work in a television station, and I also have a degree in environmental resources. And I'm also passionate about sustainability. So how do I mesh all of it? It's a good question. Well, I had this idea about doing my own TV show. But the problem is who am I going to get to crew on my show? Who's going to be passionate about it? The problem is, who am I going to get to host the show? And the problem is, where am I going to find all these leaders in sustainability? And turns out the executive director for Sustainable Silicon Valley came walking into my office one day and she was like, "What do you guys do here?" And I'm like, "Well, this is perfect, right?" Just like lands in my lap. And it literally later on that month, I'm taking a class with Brian, and Brian's like, "By the way, you guys need to do a class project, and it has to be something about sustainability." It's like, perfect. I got this. So over the next couple months, I started pulling together all these individuals in the class, and I took this idea that was on the back burner, and I picked it up, and I said, "Hey, touch that, play with that, make it your own." And they did, and I'm very proud of these people. You want to talk a little bit about it?
So the focus of the podcast is to dive into sustainability topics, as you can see on the slide, with a variety of different types of guests, and to highlight the projects and discuss the issues and emphasize their importance and hopefully get people to think about them and talk about them. So we've completed 3 shows so far. The first one, I spoke with Mayor, I'm the host, by the way. Josh was talking with me about what he wanted to do for the project, and he said, "I just need a host." And I said, "Oh, I can help with that. I've hosted a couple of different podcasts in the past." So the first one, we talked with Mayor Showalter about water issues in the Bay Area, and then the second episode was on artificial turf, and there were a number of different guests on that show, and then the third episode was Hala was one of our guests on the problems with single-use utensils. We have a couple of shows coming up. One, we'll be talking with Jigspot over there on 3D print scrap recycling, all the waste material from 3D printing. And then Cupertino Quarry, which is a new one that I haven't even heard about yet.
So the leadership Mountain View has pretty much taken over this project, and I absolutely love that fact that I was able to pull in people from, this network that I just dove into, and they help do the production from start to finish. So I'm very, very honored and proud of these people here. It's not just on television, so we do have a channel that it runs on the local TV station, Channel 15, and if you're in Mountain View, you also can view it on YouTube. There's also audio available and on all the major podcasting platforms. So if you just look up Exergy TV, you'll find it. Long term, we plan to do this monthly. We do have an entire network of leaders in the Bay Area, sustainable environmental resource leaders in the Bay Area, and we want to be able to tap into that network. So we're going to continuously do this show every single month. We're going to create the awareness amongst our audience. We're going to build our audience. You guys are our audience, so please go ahead and go and like and follow and share Exergy TV, and we're going to build our network. Anybody else you want to try on?
So who benefited? Why do we do this? What are the benefits of this podcast? The guests have an opportunity to share their expertise and promote their initiatives. The audience learns things as a result of listening to or watching the show, and they get inspired. And the nonprofits who appear on the show get increased visibility and support for their efforts. And the team members all have professional growth and fulfillment as a result of participating. So what are the leadership attributes from this project? Vision, we had to set a goal and figure out how to achieve that goal. We had collaboration opportunities, building partnerships with businesses and nonprofits, and leveraging, each of us brought different strengths to the project. And then communication, we all had to figure out how to communicate with each other and convey the ideas and coordinate the various different tasks of this crazy project. And what did we learn about ourselves? Well, we learned our potential to make a positive impact by leveraging the various different strengths that we brought to this project and our passions, as Josh spoke about, and personal growth and fulfillment from contributing to this ecological cause. And so what is the value to us individually? For each team member, it provided an opportunity to develop our skills. I can definitely speak to that as being a TV talk show host. That was a new thing for me. And a sense of purpose and pride in contributing to the community.
And like I say, Alshon's never been a floor director before, but he does a phenomenal job just out of nowhere. And the teleprompter, you're going to give it up for the teleprompter as well. I would be remiss if I didn't mention there was a couple other people who were not on our project team who also joined us for the productions as well. Brian and his daughter also contributed. They were on camera and audio respectively. And I think that's it.
Don't forget to mention Marisol.
Oh, and Marisol is not here today, but she actually was the person who networks with a lot of the local businesses to get us food. So the entire crew was fed, and that was thanks to our sponsors. So we're actually partnering with some of the food organizations as well. It was a great partnership. Anything else you want to say?
Marisol is definitely the most important person in the entire project.
Now, I highly recommend that you watch these. They are so professionally done. It is totally awesome. There was only one problem we had in the production, because when I showed up, obviously Josh was the director of the production, right? He knows how to cue everything, and the sound and the lights and the video and camera 1, camera 3, cutting, cut. But I showed up and I said, well, I'm the director of Leadership Mountain View. So we had a little argument about who was the director that day, but it all worked out pretty well. And I also want to mention that I did go through the training with my daughter. It was tons of fun. If you have any interest in that, I highly recommend you contact Josh. They have a great program to train you how to use the equipment, and anybody can make a video or a production on anything that's important to you. So you might see a little bit of a theme emerging here about the connections, right? It's Josh wanting to do something, meeting somebody that had the same passion, finding people in the class that had similar interests or wanting to be, on screen or whatever. So I'd like to just mention that so far you've heard 2 projects that were sustainability focused. So when I became the director of LMV, I looked at previous program feedback. And one of the things that I noticed was that when we planted trees with the Canopy organization, it got really positive feedback because people felt like they were making a difference for the environment, because planting local trees not only helps with the environment and oxygen, but it beautifies and it makes people feel better. So there's all this stuff around sustainability. So I noticed that that was the only thing that they had in the 9-month program on sustainability. And I started to think that if there's any one issue that is global right now, it's sustainability. So I wanted to create a full day focused on sustainability. And this is the way LMV worked. I went to Kim, the previous director, and said, who can I talk to about creating a program? He said, well, you have to talk to Bruce Carney. Well, who's Bruce Carney? Well, he created Carbon-Free Mountain View. So the reason we can get 100% sustainably produced electricity now, today, is because of what Bruce Carney did 30 years ago, right? So I go to Bruce and I say, well, who else can help you? He says, well, you need to bring in Bruce Ireland. I said, well, who's Bruce? Well, he's Sustainability Mountain View, and he's the one doing bike paths and making sure when there's new developments that sustainability is thought about that. And I said, well, who else can help? But I can't have anybody else named Bruce. 2 Bruces would be too much, right? It'd be too confusing if we're all Bruce. So then somebody said, well, you need to talk to Marnie. And I said, well, who's Marnie? Well, Marnie was on one of the sustainability commissions. So Marnie came in. We did a brainstorming on what we could teach on a sustainability program. And we had over 70 yellow stickies up on the wall of things that we could teach. So how do you get that down into what do you do in 8 hours? What's the most important? And right at that point was when our time was up and everybody ran out of the room except Marnie. She said, would you like some help turning this into a program? So Marnie joined LMV that year, and you'll hear more about Marnie. So I wanted to bring out the importance of those connections. That's what L&D is all about. Who do you know, like-minded or not, that can help you accomplish what you want to do? So this is a little story about the sustainability theme that you're seeing develop here is all because of Marnie. Okay, print cycle, come on up. You can click or you can, whichever you click.
Thanks, Brian.
Here.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to graduation. Very excited to show you all Print Cycle and the amazing work that we've done so far and the promises that we have for continuation of this project. So as Brian said, there's definitely a clear theme of sustainability and what we did. I think the first day Jason and I met at Shoreline Amphitheater, and it was a match. He was in recology and I was in 3D printing, and we had this idea and we took it and ran with it. So when Brian said, hey, you all need to come up with a project, I heard start a company. So I started a company. So why Print Cycle? So current recycling systems, as you've seen so far, and as some of you have gone on the Smart Station tour with us, thank you, is that it's not the most efficient of systems. Everything gets all piled into one, and then there's a huge sorting effort. It's very cost inefficient. And so everybody is trying their hardest to separate these good materials to recycle them either via compostables or plastics or aluminum, and we saw giant chunks of aluminum there. So what if we could figure out a way to take some of this plastic material that wasn't single use and turn it into a great resource for everyone to use, not only for 3D printing, but for any number of uses. It is good raw material, so let's use it. So why focus on 3D printing scrap? It is clean. It is as close to virgin material as you could possibly get, and it comes nearly pre-sorted with a lot of people who have boxes in their corners of their rooms with their 3D printer going, oh, that failed, and they put it in there. So that's pre-sorted material. So we're already getting people who are using the right bins for the right materials. So we're trying to take advantage of that. So this is what it looks like. I was gonna bring in my bin that I had, but I forgot again, so I apologize. But if you come to the Jinkspot shop, I'd be happy to show you not only the bin and our Print Cycle bin that is currently in use, but also some examples of injection molded stuff that was made from my material, about 8 years worth of it. So again, everybody has this cardboard box of material that they don't know what to do with. And what do they end up doing with it? That's the next one. So at-home efforts. This is a problem that 3D printing community wants to solve. There are at-home grinding kits that you can buy, pre-assembled, post-assembled, and people have these in their houses that they're trying to recycle this material. So the effort and desire is there. However, grinding equipment can be potentially dangerous, and not a lot of people have room for this kind of setup, so we need some way to concentrate these efforts. Large-scale efforts include Precious Plastics. This is a global organization that is already doing a lot of this, but on a more general and plastic unspecific scale. So they're taking in everything, low-density polyethylene, polyethylene terephthalate, ABS materials, PETG, everything is going into these Print Cycle collection stations. There's actually one just off of the peninsula, and that's who I got in touch with, David Schick. He has grinders, injection molding equipment, he's got everything. All we need to do is supply him with additional material. What better material than 3D printing material? So the Print Cycle piece, how it fits in, we are trying to relieve the burden on municipalities, making sure that we reclaim that material before it hits the landfill. So we can concentrate, again, those collection efforts and making sure that we have the material where it needs to be at the right time. We're optimizing the process by distributing specialized created bins that Jason and I designed. They have an NFC chip on them. We distribute those to the public. and they fill them up and bring them off. That way we can track what this material is, how much, where it's coming from, and where it's going. And then the material resale. So then Print Cycle will be responsible for grinding and selling raw filament as well as injection molded goods. So if you see tchotchkes at the next trade show that you go to, look and see if it's multicolored. It might be a Print Cycle piece that you're looking at. Not only that, but then we can offer tax benefits for a lot of these things. So imagine not only you're doing good for the environment, but then you get a tax break for it as well. So printcycle.org is up, it's running. It was rather a serendipitous project. Again, 3D printing has always been near and dear to my heart, recycling and sustainability for Jason's, and then of course for Ray's and for Mari's as well. So we've gathered these people together to try to figure out how we can make this happen. We are now an official 501(c)(3). We're filed and accepted. Thank you very much. No small effort on Jason's part. The website is launched. You can currently place orders. You can get more information. We're accepting more than cash donations. We want your plastic. So if you want to donate with cash, you're more than welcome to, but please, your plastic, we want it. And how you can help specifically, spread the word. The most common thing we hear of in the 3D printing community is I have a box of material and I don't know what to do with it. You throw it away, don't throw it away. That's terrible. We need friends, family, and organizations to know about Print Cycle and where to put this 3D printed scrap material. It's not waste, it's scrap material. And if you know someone who has a printer or you are at work and they have a printer, they have a fabrication lab, please let us know or get us in touch with them, get them in touch with us. That is how you can help make this project grow. And of course, our partners, we are partnered with Precious Plastics Peninsula, which is a mouthful. Solotape was kind enough to donate a bunch of labels for our printers and NFC tags to make it kind of a closed system. And of course, I forgot to put on the school as well. Sorry. So St. Francis is another partner of ours. Ray was kind enough to get us in touch with their printers at their school. I'm also pleased to report that we're also getting calls. So we have gotten unsolicited phone calls of people looking for these things just from the little bit of press that we've had so far. So we're really excited to see where this goes and continue on with it. And that's it.
Home again about the connections. How did you navigate the waters of starting a nonprofit?
That was Sarah's doing. Sarah was kind enough to give us a full and complete map of how to start a nonprofit in this area. So thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
Awesome. So not all of the projects were sustainability focused. We suggested if they had sustainability ideas, that would be preferred, but certainly people could do projects of any nature. And we didn't pick these to show you just those. The class picked the projects that they wanted to be presented here tonight, and you can see that a couple of those were sustainability focused, and the next one is just pure fun and important to the future of humanity, was what I would say, our children. So come on up, Arn and team. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Brian. So Brian asked all of us to be quick, so I had an espresso about an hour and a half ago. So I will be caffeine peaking right about now. So our project was actually one that Brian gave us, and if we go, yeah, so it was actually a project that was started by a classmate last year. And so the classmate had an idea of trying to see if schools would be receptive to a career fair. And his whole concept and philosophy was he wanted to find a way to introduce students to the art of the possible. And so in 2023, he launched it. It was successful. And Brian said it would be great if somebody could take this over and adopt it, bring in some lessons learned, and try to package it so it could just be a sustainable, ongoing project for all classes in the future. So we started getting together, and the first thing we did was we went and met with the principal who hosted it the last year at the Gabriel Mistral Elementary School. an amazing individual. She was born to be a principal. It was an absolute pleasure being able to interact with her. And she said that one of the things she noticed was because of the nature of their student body, if we put together another panel, let's make sure we have a good mix of genders, ages, and other demographics. Let's make sure we provide a spectrum of careers and professionals. And let's make sure that the presenters feel free to talk about their life journeys, that there's not a single path to get to where you want to be in life. There's multiple paths that will ultimately get you somewhere. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it now to Julio.
So I identified a lot with this project because I had a lot of struggles when I came to the US, and most of these families at that school, these kids, needed to see that there's a wide variety of jobs, from electricians to firefighters, police officers, nurses. What else we had?
We got a slide.
Engineers. We have a bunch of different careers, and some of them they didn't need much effort or intellectual, and we needed to present that to them that if they work hard, they can become a professional in any field that they desire to grow. Want to add something?
Sure. Is that the last?
Nope, we got more.
So the career fair was recently, last week on May 15, and we had about 104 students in grades 4th and 5th attend. It was a beautiful event, a room about this size. We had about 12 panelists, 3 from the fire department, as you can imagine, that was the highlight. But we had Julio, who had brought all of these electrician tools that both the boys and girls really loved. There might be a slide on the presenters, but I'll show this there. We had a associate finance director from another city who brought spreadsheets, actually physically printed spreadsheets. And I'm not kidding, her table was just as exciting as the one with the electricity tools.
Yeah.
No, just go back. We had Brian there, and I took some pictures, and you could tell he was talking about satellites and space stations, and it was very animated.
And they knew about all that.
Oh yeah, they were very clever. The students were so impressed with the panel and the interactions. It was a truly engaged afternoon. We gamified it a little bit, where we had a passport that the kids had to get signatures from all of the presenters. Lots of giveaways, lots of swag, which kids will love. So it was a wonderful evening, and we hope that the class of 2025, if you're in the room, will continue and take this forward next year. Thank you.
I'm just going to add, for the conclusion of the project, we're going to document everything, get all the materials together in a jump drive, pass it to Brian, and we'll pass it to whoever the next Brian's going to be, so that it will always be there. Oh, is it really?
Mommy, yeah.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So also my daughter Julie presented for the first time this in the project, representing high school. It's all levels. So from Avid school, from Avid student to different professions. It's an awesome project that I think we can continue doing and planting the seed for these families, for these kids to grow and be productive in life.
I do have one plug. I want to thank Vivek for showing up to volunteer and hand out the passports that day. It was quite a team effort.
Thank you. Yeah, it's such a great project. I mean, seeing the light and the fire in the eyes of these children was just really phenomenal. And I want to give a shout out to Julio, right? Julio came here as a young child, did not speak any English. And during the course of L&B, Julio was promoted to maintenance supervisor of Alta Housing. How cool is that? All right, so it is a tradition every year to have the class vote on who they would like to speak on behalf of the class. So Treaty, please come up. Congratulations for being chosen. Couldn't be happier for you being chosen.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. And you can imagine what a hard task this is, right? Like all these amazing leaders. Okay, so I have to switch laptops. Give me a second.
I forgot about our switcheroo.
There we go. Thank you. Perfect. Yes.
The magic
All
of
right.
IT.
So I'm Treaty Purbaharami, if you want to remember treaty like a peace treaty, and Purbaharami, Pur is sun, and I is of, and Baharam is Saturn, so son of Saturn. And just to shout out Brian, I didn't speak English until I was 11. So my parents immigrated when I was 11. I knew hello, goodbye, and I love you when I was 11. So a lot of you might be wondering, what is this ice cream cone, right? Why is leadership bound to be an ice cream cone? Well, let me tell you. Thanks, Brian. First of all, it's a torch. We're passing I know, right? We're passing the torch of knowledge on, right? So it's a torch. Second, do you see those little squiggles in there? One of them is shoreline. Do you see it? Do you see the arrows? The other one is our city hall. Go logo development, right? Now you know it is not an ice cream cone. All right, so I had this really hard task, right? Really hard task of how do I do this? How do I represent these amazing, amazing leaders that you just got a taste of in their presentations? Well, I thought, well, let's try to reflect on our 9-month journey using their aha moments, right? So let me start the ball rolling. Mine was day one. Day one, right? I heard from the League of Women Voters that there's this program called Leadership Mountain View, that I should consider it. I'm like, sure, I'll try. I meet the mayor backstage on Shoreline. Like, that is Shoreline Amphitheater, right? Isn't that incredible? That was my first day in this program. And then I want to go back to the many gatherings we had. So our amazing Melissa and Deborah would bring us together. This was one of the first social gatherings that I joined. And we happened to have one of our city officials just sitting there with us. So as I go through these aha moments, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the person whose aha moment it is to stand up so that they can be recognized. So Jinx, stand up. Thank you. This is his aha moment. This has been a life-changing family-making experience. The people have been the unexpected benefit more than any of the theme days. Making connections with you all have been very rewarding and fulfilling. Thank you, Jinx. So day one, leadership development. Oh, I wish Marisol was here. This ray of sunshine, she's our model that walks down the runway. If she was here, you would be impressed by her rings and her outfit. She'd be amazing. So Marisol's aha moment was the first day of class when she saw a room full of people that cared about Mountain View and loved being here. That's how I knew the class was going to be, get ready, the best class ever. All right, so then we go into city and government. Where is Eric? Stand up, Eric. Eric's not here either? Okay. So Eric was really impressed by one of the many presentations we had. This one was by Joe Samigian, where he said, develop a relationship before you arrive and describe the elements of the solution rather than insist on your solution. A shout out to Brian and his wife that snuck in a gift to Joe as well. So then we went to Google, right? And it was an incredible campus. I want you all to notice the 2 fresh cucumbers we are holding from the Google Gardens, right? And we couldn't cut them and share them in class because Google wasn't willing to cut them for hygienic reasons, so we had to take them home. And that art piece, Renee, you're in the room? Stand up, Renee. So Renee's aha moment was seeing that art piece and seeing the many facets of Mountain View in that art piece. Thank you, Renee. And Elshawn, his aha moment, where's my Elshawn? And his fabulous, there he is, perfect. My aha moment came while learning about the Mountain View Coalition for Sustainable Planning. And then you heard how the project also had that connection. All right, then we're off to Health and Human Services Day. And I'm sorry, I'm not really focusing on that in particular. I'm focusing on our amazing Deborah. Deborah, stand up. There she is. So this is Deborah's aha moment. People care everywhere. It's so true, Deborah. It is so true. She collected coats from all of us, some of us willing, some of us not so willing, Elshana, and donated them. And these two pictures represent the happy people who were distributing the coats that we donated. Okay, now we're off to Education Day. And it was at Linton. And Sarah, stand up. Where is my, oh, there she is. So Sarah is all about creating brave spaces. And it wasn't just an educational day. She really stepped up and helped us create a lot of brave spaces. Thank you, Sarah. And Rocky, stand up. Where is she? There she is. Now, this is one of her aha moments, and I just want you to take a moment, right? It's about knowledge, awareness, bias, and ignorance, right? Knowledge is the known knowns, right? When we actually know them. Awareness is the knowns that are unknown, and we try to get there, right? The bias is the unknown knowns. And the ignorance is the unknown unknowns. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. All right, then we're off to what I would say hands down was one of the most aha-producing days of this class, our federal day, our day at NASA and Air National Guard. I loved Ramiro, stand up. I saw you already. There he is in his beautiful suit. The one-day space camp was amazing. It really was. It really was. Jeff, stand up. And look at him. Look at how amazing. He's thankful for the men and women who keep us safe. He's one of them, by the way. And our classmates, Ash, Chong, also called it out. And there are aha moments where you're, Chong, look at her. Chong, stand up, please. There she is. Look at her. And Ash Warriors, please stand up. There she is in her beautiful stuff. All right. Then we were off to another really popular day, right? And this was really hard because, like, look, Rashmi, stand up. Rashmi in her beautiful purple, there she is. And Melissa both commented on the bikes. So Melissa says, right, okay, she's kind of talking about me here. You just leaped onto the motorcycle without asking. I'm like, yeah, why not, right? You inspired me to not hold back, to not wait, to notice what intrigues or interests me. What I want, I just go for it. Yes, Melissa, just go for it. Then we've got Nate. Where are you, Nate? Please stand up. Oh, very nice. No tie today. Very nice, Nate. Police officers leading with heart. Who knew the name of every local homeless resident, right? We actually met one of the group that she knew every single homeless resident of Mountain View. Ray, in that very powerful outfit. Thank you, Ray. During Public Safety Day, I truly had a sense that the men and women who worked there didn't treat it as a job, but as their ministry. Thank you, Ray. Okay, we're almost there. Arts and Media Day. So this was a video, and this goes with Arn's. Arn, please stand up. This goes with Arn's. One word which I felt like I needed to translate, Arn, so that's why I did a little bit more. The mutual trust and friendship among people who spend a lot of time together. We were throwing our truths at each other as he walked in from, I'm sure, a very busy meeting, and he just videotaped us, and that represented his moment of leadership. Malara, could you stand up, please? And she was, oh, thank you. Listen to this. My aha moment was when one of our speakers mentioned that with a small team of people, they're able to accomplish excellence because they love what they do and who they do it for. All right, our final day was our Business and Technology Day, and we had many. We kind of brought us all together, and we had a moment to really reflect on the whole day. And Jason commented on this statement that actually Melissa made. And this was his aha moment, which is Leadership Mountain View helps humanize and connect the different organizations and communities within Mountain View. Jason, stand up. I forgot to ask you to stand up. Thank you. So the humans, right? The humans that make this happen. A huge thank you to this team. Please stand up. The team that's behind it. Thank you. And I know not everyone's in that picture, so thank you. And here is the reason I brought my own laptop, just so you know, Brian. You thought I was just being forgetful. Should I do it one more time, Brian? Here we go. This is for you. So, let's go, class. What are we? The best class ever. So let's do it. Let's go. That's our house.
That last picture, by the way, is inside the wind tunnel at NASA Ames. And who was it, the treaty, that says, okay, we're walking out the door. Wait a minute, we need a picture. We need to go all the way across and hold hands. And then the NASA guys are like, well, who is this person? Well, she's the person that's been picked to represent the class. That's who she is. All right, thank you. All right, so we are at the certificate of graduation time in the program. So we've been sitting for a while, so I'd actually like everybody to stand up and allow the graduates to come onto this side of the room and line up in alphabetical order. And the people who aren't graduating can kind of just shake it out a little bit and take a couple deep breaths. And Peter Katz, who is the president and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce and my boss, is going to call out the graduate's name to come up one by one to receive their certificates. Oh, you want to announce Lisa? Yes, you should.
They'll take a minute anyway.
Yeah.
We can redo it. You should have everybody else sit down anyways.
Photo op. Once they have their certificate in their bag, they're going to stand here with you guys and Josie.
Right here.
Where's the photo op? Where do you want to put a photo op?
Right in the middle.
Right there. You're there. And then I'm here. Oh, wait.
Right here.
Maybe I'll
Well,
run.
Brian, they're going to go in front of the table, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And Joe, so after Vice Mayor Manischek takes the certificate, I'm going to hand you bags. All right, if the guests could please take their seats. I noticed that the best class ever had a little trouble getting in alphabetical order, but they eventually got there, so thank you. All right, I wanted to thank the city council members in totality for being so supportive of the LMV program. On Government Day, they come, they talk, they tell us what they do. We have panel discussions, and anytime there's a need to do anything special, somebody rises up. Mayor Showalter could not make it today, and sure enough, Vice Mayor Manischek said, I will help. So thank you so much for helping. She has a little bit of problem of losing her voice today, so she's just going to be here for handing out the certificates and getting the photo op. But I know you guys are busy, and you know, the first time I attended a city council meeting and it went like 5 hours till 1 in the morning, I realized what you guys really do for the city. So thank you so much for the volunteer. Okay. Yeah, so why don't we recognize the other council members. We have Margaret Abacoda is here somewhere. If you could wave. Hi, Margaret. I believe I saw Ellen Kamei. Emily Ann Ramos is here. And Lucas. I didn't see Lucas. He's hiding somewhere. Where's Lucas? Lucas Ramirez. Thank you very much. I appreciate all you guys so very, very much.
All right. Well, since Lisa has no voice, I'm going to talk twice as loud. No, just kidding. I too just want to commend all of you for an amazing, amazing year. Let's have another round of applause for them. And without further ado, and with apologies in advance for my terrible pronunciation, I will read the names. Please come up as I call your name, and Lisa Matichek will hand you your certificate. So, have you all put yourselves in alphabetical order? That was, one of the tests here. You can't graduate unless you're in alphabetical order. All right, let's start with Hala Alashwani. Congratulations. Next up, from the city of Mountain View, Arn Andrews. From Mountain View's finest, Sergeant Alex Barrara. Oh, he is out doing good work. Okay, next up, Ramiro Blanco from the 129th Rescue Wing. Okay, I don't see Dan Berger, so we'll move on to Melissa Dinwiddie. I'm sorry. I knew that. From the city of Mountain View, Helen He. And from St. Francis High School, Rei Hisataki. From Mountain View Public Library, Katie Hom. From Mountain View Public Works, Chong Hong. I'm so sorry. And now from Ecology, Jason Eno. Also from the Public Library, Mark Jack. From Google, Ash Joshi. And from CHAC, Rocky Kashik, sorry. Rocky, I got all choked up, I'm sorry. From Citibank, and I believe the youngest LMV graduate ever, Olara Magunja. From the David and Lucille Packard Foundation, Jessica Mancini. I know Marisol is at another event, so we'll move on to, from Alcatraz AI, Elshan Nuriev. From Pearman Consulting, Mari Pearman. From Alta Housing, Julio Perla. Perla? I don't see Eric, so. A woman who needs no introduction because she was up here just a moment ago. Triti Porbarami. From the Mountain View Police Department, Sergeant Jeff Reed. From Jinkspot 3D, Jason Reynolds.
Before you go on, Peter, I told Jason he would not graduate if he wore his t-shirt, so he put this jacket over top of it.
Please welcome Vivek Sharma. From El Camino Health, Nathan Sigler. From Google, Rashmi Singh. Oh. Didn't get the photo op. Let's do this again. From Google, Rashmi Singh. Yeah. From Mountain View Public Library, Renee Ting. And from CSA, Sarah Townsend Hanley. Gonna look great on social media. Okay. Sunshine Gardens, Deborah Vasquez. Ladies and gentlemen, from KMVT, Josh Young.
You can find today's program is also going to be on the KMVT YouTube channel as well. And also, I want to give a big shout out to Joe as well. Can we give it up to Joe?
Ladies and gentlemen, the class of 2024, the best class ever.
Okay, almost at the goal line here. I need to power up my computer one more time. Aha. That's me. So we traveled far and wide over 9 months. And the very first day, somebody from LinkedIn came in, gave a talk about a bunch of things, about leadership, about work-life balance, about treating others with respect. And one of the concepts that Scott Schuett brought up was the concept of ikigai. And it's a Japanese word where iki means to live and gai means with reason, which translate to a reason to live. It's a concept that encourages people to discover what truly matters to them and to live a life filled with purpose and joy. So I can't let you get away without another LMV connection story. Just trying to really drive that point home about the connections developed through Leadership Mountain View. So when I was in class, we had a business day, and there was a person on the panel from LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, Google, Microsoft, and one other company were talking about, corporate responsibility and corporate involvement in the community and so forth. And it was all great, but when the question and answers came, since I had just retired from high tech, I asked the question, you're doing a lot for the community, that's great, but what are you doing for your employees? Because I know that they're pretty stressed out. It's just the way high tech is these days. And the person from LinkedIn said, I'll answer that question, because we have a director of mindfulness and compassion in our company. And I about fell out of my chair, because at the company I just retired from, we didn't have a director of mindfulness and compassion. It was making ends meet day by day, week by week, quarter by quarter was kind of the farthest out we could see. And the key to me saying this is that after the class, she came up to me and she gave me her business card, and on the back of it was the name of this person. She said, this is the director of mindfulness and compassion. He hasn't been through LMV, but you as an LMV student and forevermore as a graduate, you not only have the permission to contact somebody that you heard of through LMV and say, somebody told me you might have a way to help me. Somebody told you might have like-minded interests for us to talk about. And she said, not only do you have the right, it's your responsibility. Whoa. So I sent a LinkedIn message to Scott Schuett saying, Katie Barrett said you might talk to me, right? Luckily, he couldn't see that from the LinkedIn message, but that was what's going through my mind. I ended up meditating in a LinkedIn conference room with LinkedIn employees and hearing Scott talking about treating people with compassion and mindfully traveling through your day. I've been a meditator for maybe, how many years, Nancy? 30 years or so? So we had this connection. And what he shared with me was that he had a spiritual life from the time he was in high school, but he kept that separate from work. And then one day he heard the CEO of LinkedIn give a commencement speech, and he was telling the graduates that when they go out into the world, they should be treating people mindfully and compassionately. So he got up the courage to walk into the CEO's office and say, do you really believe that? And the CEO said, of course. And he said, well, what are we doing about it? And that was an aha moment for them. And Scott then got permission to start having meditation and stress reduction classes in LinkedIn. And from that, they developed metrics on how to treat their fellow employees, their customers, and their vendors mindfully and compassionately. So I kind of stayed in touch with Scott. I had no idea that I would be the LMV director someday at that time. And when COVID hit, I sent him a message and said, hey, Scott, how are you holding up through this COVID business? And he said, well, it's kind of rough, but I did pick off one of my bucket items. I wrote a book that I've always wanted to write. What's the name of it? So I got the book and I read it. And then I sent him a photograph and a text, and I said, some people judge a book by the cover. I judge a book by how many yellow stickies I put in it. And there was all these yellow stickies in it. And he said, oh, that's great. Will you write me in a review, right? So I wrote a review. So when I became the director, I knew Scott from a heart-based standpoint, and I had the courage to ask him if he would give a talk at our first day, and he did. He's done it for 3 years now. So again, it's those connections. So I wish you all to go out and continue those connections. So Ikigai, one of the reasons I want to mention this here is that we can get so focused on our profession and our vocation, because that's in our face. We have to work, we have to get our work done, and things pile up. But we have these things that we love to do. We have these things that the world needs. We have things that we're good at that we might not be able to do at work. But you see how these are interconnecting Venn diagrams with Ikigai in the middle. So I encourage you, if you have passions, if you have a mission, if there's things that you're good at, you can bring that to work. You can add that to what you do, right? So it's that molding your future and helping those around you by thinking more globally than just work. It's how do we help the world with the skills and talents and desires and passions that you have. I'm going to end with this quote from Marianne Williamson. A lot of people think that it was actually Nelson Mandela because he read this at his inauguration in 1994, but it was written by Marianne Williamson. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it starts with our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are so powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? And then it goes on, and it just says that it's up to each and every one of us to let our light shine. So I'm jumping down to the end. And as when we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. So hopefully in the class projects, you saw that when people let their light shine about their passion, they found people right beside them that wanted to join. And that magnitude just increases exponentially of what you can accomplish when you band together. So I want to thank each and every one of you for your participation. I do want to ask Melissa to come up to kind of bring this home, if she would, with one last comment from the class.
Thanks, Brian. When I signed up for LMV, I had no idea what to expect beyond getting to know the city better and building connections, expanding my network. But LMV, as those of you who've been through it know, is so much more than that. Every month, this program really humanized all the various different departments and abstract elements of the city and how they interact, because we got to meet and hear from real people and have unforgettable hands-on interactive experiences together. We went on a 9-month journey that surprised and inspired me and filled me with so much pride for this amazing city that I am now a full-on Mountain View ambassador. Raise your hand if you now feel this way. Yes, I know a lot of you have too. And LMV has really grounded me with so much gratitude for what makes Mountain View so special and so in alignment with the values that I care about. And I feel so invested in helping to continue keeping our community the gem that it is. All thanks to LMV. So thank you, LMV, and thank you, Brian.
Do we have a representative from Star One here? They were going to come. Yes, come on up. Okay. So the last thing that I have before we turn it over to party time is that I think a lot of you know that it was a struggle for me to continue to decide if I wanted to continue for a fourth year or not. I decided it was time to re-retire. I failed retirement the first time and spend some more time with my wife, Nancy. I want to let the LMV community know that this program is going to be in great hands for two reasons. One is there's no way I could do this program the way I do without having a team of people behind me, and that's the LMV Advisory Council. And the first class that I taught had Margie Lee, and I told the story earlier about how she helped me design this Sustainability Day. She was chosen at the class as the class rep for her class, and then she immediately joined the Advisory Council. So she's been on the council for 2 years, and she is just a phenomenal person. So I'm happy that Margie will be taking over the baton from me. So thank you, Margie. You want to wave in the back. And I truly want to end with thanking my wife. She allowed me to come out of retirement to do this. It was a precious moment for me to get to know each and every one of you. And thank you so much for that. So I'm going to turn it over to Star One, our sponsor for the graduation event, and then let's party.
Brian?
Yeah.
Can you just stay standing there for 1 second?
Congratulations, LMV Class of 2024. Your remarkable journeys and your stories are so uplifting. We cannot wait to see all the great things you do within your local communities, your workplaces, and within your homes, and within the nation. So I just want to say congratulations again, and I hope you have a great evening. Thank you.